At the banquet, someone asked my husband, "It's been 7 years since we last saw Mrs. Gabriel. Is she doing well?" Gabriel replied casually, "She's at home with our daughter." As soon as he finished speaking, everyone fell silent. The person who asked the question looked a bit embarrassed and said, "Gabriel, wasn't your daughter, who had bone cancer, already passed away?" Gabriel's face was filled with disbelief. "What did you just say?" "On the day your daughter was supposed to have a bone marrow transplant, the city hospital received a patient who drowned and was in a deep coma. Was that your daughter? She could have been saved if they'd treated her in time, but all the doctors were called away by someone. She died because they couldn't rescue her." Gabriel, "Didn't you know about this all along?" I'd hidden it from Gabriel and sent his beloved adoptive sister out of the capital that night. Gabriel had his men forcibly take our daughter, who was suffering from bone cancer, to a suburban reservoir. They tied her hands and feet and threw her into the dry pit at the bottom. He called me, his voice seething with rage. "Elena, you'd better tell me where Leila is right now, otherwise our daughter will drown because of you." I was terrified. "What are you doing? She's your daughter too." Gabriel didn't care. His cold voice warned, "You have 5 minutes left." I cried and told him where Leila was, in exchange for the location of our daughter at the reservoir. I rushed over by car and saw my daughter, tied up tightly as water gushed into the reservoir. The pit would be filled in less than an hour. I tried desperately to save her, but nothing worked. The rising water reached her waist, and her cries of "Mommy" tore at my heart. I screamed hysterically, wishing I were the one in that pit. "Baby Mommy's here to save you. Mommy won't let anything happen to you." Tears streamed down my daughter's face as she said goodbye in despair. "Mommy, don't save me. I'm really happy I got to be your daughter in this life. And Daddy, tell him not to be sad for me when Mommy has a little brother. You 3 have to live happily together." She was still in the dark, unaware that the man she loved most, her father, had done this to her. Grief-stricken, my hands shaking, I called Gabriel, screaming uncontrollably, "Tell me how to save her, please." Gabriel clicked his tongue, clearly annoyed by my tone. Then sneered, "Jump down there's a button to close the valve down there." He hung up before I could ask more. Watching the water reach my daughter's chest, I didn't hesitate. I jumped into the reservoir. I untied her ropes, then felt around underwater until I found a raised button. I pressed it with all my strength. The next second, a deafening roar filled the air as a massive surge of water rushed into the pit, separating me from my daughter. I tried to grab her hand, but she closed her eyes and sank to the bottom. "Baby." I had no idea what had just happened. Gabriel was the one who told me to press that switch. I finally climbed out of the reservoir, clutching my daughter's cold body, and was rested. Her little face was pale, like a sleeping beauty from a fairy tale. I tried to perform first aid, crying so hard I could barely breathe, my vision blurred by tears. In her last moment, she let go of my hand. She didn't want to get me involved, but now, I could only watch her lie there, showing no sign of waking. I carried her to the car, ran through 7 or 8 red lights, and finally reached the hospital. Nurses rushed over, shocked by my daughter's lifeless state. "Call the on-duty doctors immediately. We'll take her to the emergency room first." I collapsed outside the emergency room doors. A nurse tried to help me up, but I had no strength left. My heart was burning with anxiety, praying to God to spare my daughter, even if it meant cutting short my own life. But all I got was a nurse's voice saying she was critically ill. I knelt on the floor, sobbing and begging, "Please save her. She's only 7, she hasn't even seen the world yet." The nurse, taking pity on me, said they needed a doctor for surgery, but none were available. When I asked where they'd gone, she told me Gabriel had summoned them to Hawthorne. Gabriel's sister was injured. All the doctors went to treat her. It was Gabriel. I trembled as I dialed his number. As soon as he answered, I begged, "Gabriel, our daughter is unconscious. Please send the doctors back. I'm begging you." Gabriel only laughed coldly. "Elena, how many times do you need to have people call me like this? Isn't it tiring? You know Leila's hurt and needs me. But you're cursing our daughter to die just to trick me into seeing you." My heart ached so badly I could barely breathe. "I'm not lying, she's really dying." Gabriel still didn't believe me. "Quit the act. I told you how to close the valve. How could she be in danger? Stop lying." He hung up before I could say more. I frantically dialed again. This was my only chance to save her. But no one answered. I went to the gate of Hawthorne, knelt down, and kowtowed until my head was bleeding, begging Gabriel to let the doctors out to operate on our daughter, but no one responded, and the security guards drove me away without mercy as I left. I heard Gabriel and Leela laughing and chatting inside. I wandered back to the hospital in a daze, staring at my daughter on the bed, her breaths growing weaker than her inhales. And my heart felt like it was being torn apart. Baby, I'm sorry mommy didn't protect you well. And now, I can't even save you. My daughter slowly opened her eyes, a faint smile showing beneath her oxygen mask. She moved her fingers, signaling me to come closer. I pressed my ear to her side to catch her words. Mommy, it's not your fault. I was being bad. Where's Daddy? I want to see him one last time. I might not get to anymore. I clutched her cold hand, unable to bring myself to tell her the cruel truth. How devastated she would be if she knew her father had done this to her. She was the little princess Gabriel, and I had longed for 4 years. How did it come to this? I couldn't understand. How could an adoptive sister matter more than his own flesh and blood? To spare her pain, I called a servant at Hawthorne and finally got through. The servant took the phone to Gabriel. Gabriel, it's Madam. She says the young lady wants to see you. A crash of a wine glass shattering followed. Is she still not giving up? She thinks I'll fall for this trick. From now on, no one answers her calls. Anyone who disobeys gets thrown out of Hawthorne immediately. I wanted to carry my daughter to Hawthorne, to make Gabriel look at her and see I wasn't lying. She really was dying. The call cut off, and I met my daughter's disappointed eyes. My heart ached so badly I could barely breathe. Is Daddy mad at Mommy because the bone marrow transplant costs so much? She asked. I don't need it anymore. He must be happy now. Right? Mommy, don't cry. If Daddy knows I'm dead, will he be as sad as you? Tears streamed down my face, and I sobbed uncontrollably. Since she was 4. When she was diagnosed with bone cancer, she'd endured 3 years of chemotherapy, her hair falling out, her teeth rotting, screaming in pain until she fainted. But whenever Gabriel visited, she'd smile and shake her head, saying it didn't hurt at all. Today was supposed to be her chance to live, with the bone marrow transplant, but Gabriel had destroyed it with his own hands. I squeezed her hand, forcing a smile. Daddy will be here soon. He's busy with work. He doesn't know yet. Baby, talk to Mommy a little longer, okay? Don't fall asleep. Hold on just a bit more. Daddy's coming. I kept calling Hawthorne, but no one answered. In my desperation, I dialed Leela's number. Gabriel cherished this adoptive sister. If I begged her, surely he'd come to see our daughter. The call connected, but before I could speak, I heard Leela's panicked cry. Brother Gabriel, you've had too much to drink. We can't do this. Leela, you know I can't live without you, Gabriel said. My head exploded. The phone slipped from my hand, shattering on the floor. So that's how Gabriel felt about Leela. Then what was I? What about our daughter and the son I was carrying? I turned to the bed. My daughter had closed her eyes again. Dizziness washed over me. I stumbled to find a nurse, and everything went black in my haze. I heard voices. Gabriel called all the hospital's doctors to tend to his most precious person's wound. How sweet is that? Poor mother and daughter. Yesterday, though, I heard her daughter was supposed to have a bone marrow transplant today. Now she's gone. Dodd really plays cruel tricks. No one knew that daughter was Gabriel's own child. I suddenly opened my eyes, blood and tears streaming down my face. I hated him. I wanted to kill Gabriel, to die with my daughter. The doctors had returned. Gabriel, it turned out, was worried about Leela's wound and had forced her to the hospital for a full checkup. I burst out of the room and saw Gabriel carrying Leela in his arms, handling her like she was fragile glass. Brother Gabriel, put me down. I'm really okay. Leela said. Gabriel's voice was gentle, even with doting affection, nothing like the impatience he showed me. Be good. Let them check you all over, or I won't rest easy. Do as I say. And you can pick any sports car or bag you want. It felt like a knife had been driven into my heart. On our wedding day, he'd knelt and said I was the only woman he'd ever love. When I was pregnant and short-tempered, he'd drop everything to soothe me. After our daughter was born, he'd stayed home for 3 months as a full-time dad, taking care of us. I thought that love would last forever, but everything changed when he found out he and Leela weren't blood siblings. He grew cold to me and our daughter, staying out all night, barely coming home. And yesterday, Saidi, had our daughter kidnapped to blackmail me into bringing Leila back. Leila had merely scraped her finger, but Gabriel had called all the doctors away, leaving our daughter to die unattended. She died never knowing her father was the one who killed her. She just wanted to see him one last time. Tears poured out again, my heart aching until it went numb in that moment. I didn't care to question aggressively him anymore. I just wanted to bury my daughter properly. Brother Gabriel listened. That Elena? Leila asked, shrinking into his arms, sniffling like she'd been gravely wronged. Gabriel saw me and frowned, his eyes cold and unfeeling. Elena, what are you doing here? Do you still want to send Leila away a second time? Let me tell you, don't even think about it. With a wave of his hand, 4 or 5 bodyguards rushed over and pinned me firmly to the floor. Seeing that I didn't struggle, Gabriel sneered. Who are you putting on this pitiful act for? Yesterday you kept saying our daughter was dying. And now you're here putting on this pathetic show. Digustada? Is your next move going to be setting up a fake mourning hall and hanging a fake portrait of our daughter? I jolted, looked up, and stared at Gabriel hatefully. Gabriel, our daughter is dead, you killed her. Gabriel froze slightly, seemingly startled by my hysterical appearance, a hint of confusion flashing in his eyes. Leila suddenly clung tightly to Gabriel's arm. Brother Gabriel already told you how to close the valve. How could the child have come to harm? Can't you come up with a better lie? I know you don't like me. And you don't want Brother Gabriel to get too close to me, but you can't joke about Brother Gabriel's daughter's life. Gabriel's eyes immediately turned cold again. Elena, if our daughter knew her mother was a lying, vicious woman, she would hate you. At his words, I forced a smile that was uglier than crying. Our daughter was dead, and Gabriel still thought I was lying. I wanted to defend myself and our daughter, but my heart ached too much to say a word. I wanted to leave to find our daughter's body in the mortuary and take her home to bury her, but Gabriel ordered the bodyguards to hold me down tightly. Since you know you're wrong, kneel here and reflect. You can get up only when you're willing to apologize to Leila. Gabriel turned to leave. Leila, in his arms, looked at me and smiled like a winner. I refused to apologize, and eventually fainted from exhaustion. Only then did the bodyguards panic and call Gabriel. Gabriel, Madam has fainted. Another trick to pretend to be dead. Tell everyone in the hospital, no one is allowed to save her, otherwise they'll be going against Hawthorne Group. When I woke up again, I was lying on the cold floor surrounded by onlookers, not seeing the bodyguards. I got up and ran madly towards the mortuary, but I couldn't find our daughter's body anywhere. In despair, a doctor came over and told me that our daughter had been taken away by people from Hawthorne. Elena, you're bleeding a lot down there. I looked down and saw that my white skirt was soaked with blood. After an examination, the doctor regretfully told me that the son in my belly was gone. I had an abortion, then stumbled back home. I called a funeral company to set up a mourning hall and bought an urn for our daughter. After sending our daughter off on her last journey, I would go to get a divorce. With Gabriel looking at the flower-like smile in our daughter's portrait, tears streamed down again. I held back my grief and placed our daughter's favorite teddy bear next to the portrait. I thought that with its company, our daughter could leave happily. At that moment, the door was suddenly kicked open with a loud bang. Gabriel rushed in, furious, kicked over the mourning hall, picked up the urn, and smashed it to pieces. Elena, are you never going to stop? How dare you put up these unlucky things at home? Are you deliberately trying to anger me? You're really something. Calling Mom and Dad to trick them into joining your act too. You say our daughter is dead, then where is her body? Can you show it to me? I froze, then scrambled to my feet in panic. The doctor said you had our daughter's body taken away. Give her back to me. Gabriel roughly pushed me away. I never saw our daughter at all. You Ray still lying at a time like this. I shouted grievously and indignantly that I wasn't lying. But Gabriel didn't believe me at all. He dragged me out of Hawthorne's gate and threw me to the ground. Where have you hidden our daughter? With a vicious mother like you. She's probably learned to be bad too. I couldn't take it anymore and broke down crying. Our daughter is dead. You killed her. And you had someone take her body away. Gabriel, you even smashed our daughter's mourning hall. Aren't you afraid her ghost will come to haunt you at night to seek revenge? Gabriel was infuriated. Enough. I don't want to hear you make up any more lies. Elena, I'm really disappointed in you. If it weren't for Leila telling me, I would never have known that our daughter isn't even my biological child. Even so, I didn't abandon you and her. What more do you want from me? I was stunned. What are you talking about? Our daughter is your biological flesh and blood, she's our child. Gabriel looked at me coldly. Hatred and a hint of hurt in his eyes. Now that your lie has been exposed, you can still put on this innocent act of not knowing anything. Fine. If that's the case. Then tell me why our daughter's blood type doesn't match mine. I'm her biological father, so why couldn't I give her blood for emergency transfusion? Leela quietly walked over, gently hugged Gabriel, and comforted him. Brother Gabriel. Calm down. Elena must have been confused for a moment. That's why she did something wrong. Hearing Leela's words, I realized the problem. It was she who had done something to make Gabriel misunderstand, and she must have been the one who took our daughter's body. There must be a misunderstanding. I haven't done anything to betray you. She's talking nonsense. Leela would never lie to me. I looked at Gabriel, a sense of powerlessness welling up in my heart. Suddenly, I didn't want to argue anymore. I was really too tired. I just wanted to find our daughter's body, bury her, and let her soul rest in peace. I resigned myself to kneeling in front of them, holding the broken urn, and apologized to Leela. I'm sorry, it's my fault. Can you give our daughter back to me now? Gabriel, in his rage, froze. His chest suddenly felt uncomfortable, and he subconsciously reached out to help me. Leela was quick to block him, choking out. I don't know why you're saying this, but I really haven't seen your daughter. I was with Brother Gabriel all last night, not apart for even a minute. As for where your daughter is, only you know best. You Ray afraid she'll reveal who her real father is, costing you the position of Mrs. Gabriel. Aren't you? Gabriel's face darkened instantly, his gaze toward me filled with nothing but hatred. Someone, throw out all their mother and daughter's things in this room and burn them. Not a single item is to be left. No sooner had he spoken than the bodyguards sprang into action. Our daughter's favorite teddy bear, her most cherished possession, was about to be swallowed by the flames now. I disregarded the searing pain to my skin, snatching the teddy bear from the fire, but the once white toy had turned black, crumbling to ash at the slightest touch, revealing a small white recorder inside. My trembling hand pressed play, and our daughter's sweet, innocent voice filled the air. My 7th birthday wish is that Mom and Dad are happy every day, that I get better from my illness, and that my little brother is born healthy. A shrill, despairing scream tore from my throat. In that moment, I wanted nothing more than to die. Gabriel. Leela. You'll regret this. That night, an explosion rocked Hawthorne's underground wine cellar. Run! The cellar's blowing up. Chaos erupted. No one could stop the chain of explosions. They could only watch as Hawthorne Manor crumbled to ruins. Leela. Are you all right? Gabriel turned anxious. To the soot-streaked Leela in his arms. Leela burst into tears, snot and tears mixing. Brother Gabriel. I was so scared just now. Gabriel suddenly froze, releasing her with a hint of disgust. Good that you're unharmed. Is everyone else out? The butler rushed over, pointing to the rubble, his voice trembling. Madam is still inside. Gabriel sprinted into the ruin, spotting me in the collapsing wine cellar. He shouted frantically. Elena, haha, get out of there, do you hear me? I tightly held my daughter's clothes from when she was alive, cast one last glance at Gabriel, then turned and walked resolutely into the depths. Elena. Gabriel's heart tightened, fear flashing in his eyes. Elena, stop this act. You think this will threaten me? As he watched me vanish bit by bit, he suddenly lunged forward, wildly shouting. Move this debris, find Elena. Elena, I won't let you die like this. Get out here now. Leela. Leela. Never having seen Gabriel in such a frenzy, forgot to cry. She ran over and clung to him. Brother Gabriel. You can't go, it could collapse any second. It's too dangerous. The butler and servants, abandoning the cleanup, rushed to restrain Gabriel, fearing he'd do something reckless. By the time Hawthorne had fully collapsed into the ground, it was morning. Gabriel finally pushed through the crowd and jumped down, but found not even a scrap of my clothing. I died deep in the ruins, shattering the last flicker of hope in Gabriel's heart. Overwhelmed with regret, Gabriel dropped to his knees and wept bitterly. Leela approached. Murmuring comforting words while barely containing her excitement and joy. Gabriel locked himself in his room for 3 days, refusing food or drink, unable to accept that I was dead. Then he remembered our daughter was still missing. He convinced himself I'd hidden her with my lover, that she still didn't know I was dead. At last, he opened his door. "Find Sophia, tell her to come to her mother's funeral." As for that man, his voice trailed off. The secretary, expecting an order to kill, fell silent as Gabriel turned and retreated into his room without another word. Early the next morning, the secretary arrived with a report, looking hesitant. Gabriel frowned. "What? Is Sophia refusing to attend her own mother's funeral?" His voice trembled, the familiar bone-deep pain returning. He wasn't surprised. If he'd been patient instead of flying into a rage, I wouldn't have killed myself. The secretary shook his head, struggling to find the words. "What do you have there? Give it to me." Pressed, the secretary handed over the document. "Gabriel, the young lady passed away last week." Gabriel froze, doubting his ears. "What did you say?" Then he saw it. The death certificate, clear as day. His eyes widened as he read the cause: drowning-induced coma, severe lung damage, bone cancer complications. Attached were records of her final moments, no doctors available. Her life slipping away in a hospital bed. Gabriel suddenly recalled my frantic, terrified words. It hit him. I hadn't been lying, our daughter really had been dying. He noted the time of death. That was when I called Hawthorne's servants, begging for him to see her, and he'd rejected me without mercy. "Gabriel, the paternity test results came in. You and the young lady are indeed father and daughter," the secretary continued. "The blood type discrepancy that prevented the transfusion. It was a staff error." Gabriel staggered back, collapsing onto the sofa. Our daughter was his. I'd never cheated. I'd never betrayed him. He thought of my call, asking how to close the valve. He'd given the right instructions. So why had she drowned? "Gabriel, we checked the reservoir. There were 2 buttons in the pit. One to accelerate the water flow, one to shut it off." The secretary's voice dropped. "Madam, pressed the wrong one." A thunderous roar exploded in Gabriel's mind. He'd killed his own daughter, that someone had told him there was only one button. How could this be? Gabriel's vision blurred. Consciousness slipping, he bit his tongue hard, his eyes turning blood red. "Bring the person in charge of the reservoir here. I want to get to the bottom of this. Why were there 2 valve buttons?" "Yes, heavens, a filmlaid session." Gabriel. Once the secretary left, Gabriel collapsed to his knees in overwhelming grief. His mind flooded with images of me and our daughter, replaying every moment of these past days. She burned our daughter's favorite teddy bear. He destroyed the morning hall I'd labored to set up. He'd never believed my explanations, calling me a loathsome, vicious woman who'd taught our daughter to lie. In the end, when I'd walked resolutely into the depths of the cellar, I must have been completely broken. Gabriel's heart ached so fiercely he could barely breathe. He hadn't known the truth. If he had, he would never have let her die. He thought of me kneeling outside Hawthorne's gates, begging, and his cold indifference in return. He wanted to cry but couldn't. Days without food or water had dried up his tears. Gabriel finally understood. His own terrible choices had killed our daughter and me. Regret and guilt tore at him, making life unbearable. Leela entered, gasping, and hurried to help him up. "Gabriel, please eat something. I'm really worried about you." The sight of her jolted Gabriel. He remembered calling all the hospital's doctors away just to tend to her scraped finger. It was because there'd been no doctors left that our daughter had died. This was his sin. But Leela didn't deserve to be dragged into it. Yet he couldn't bring himself to coddle her blindly as he once had. He gently pushed her away, pulling his arm free. "I'm fine. Go rest." Leela stared at her empty arms, startled. She softened her voice, trying to soothe him. "Brother Gabriel, I know you can't let Elena go. I'll help you move on. I'll be here whenever you need me." Gabriel forced a faint smile. "All right. Go back first." A day later, the secretary returned with a man who was brought before Gabriel. The man admitted he'd been bribed to hide the second valve, but claimed he didn't know who'd paid him. They communicated only by phone, never meeting. Gabriel ordered an investigation, then received a video from the hospital director. It showed me, soaked to the bone, rushing into the lobby with our dying daughter in my arms. I knelt, kowtowing and begging for help, then panicked as a nurse spoke, grabbing a phone to call. Gabriel heard my desperate pleas again, and his own cold, dismissive replies. His breath caught, regret swallowed him whole. He'd never imagined his daughter would suffer like this. Terrified, he turned off the phone, unable to watch more. Hot tears streaming down his face, the director sent a second video, security footage of me pinned to the hospital floor by bodyguards. I'd struggled to stand, only to be kicked in the stomach, forced to kneel again and again. Bright red blood seeped from between my legs, staining the floor. Gabriel stared in shock. How could this have happened? Gabriel. The doctor said Madam was 3 months pregnant. The secretary said quietly. But due to severe violence, the child didn't survive. Another knife twisted in Gabriel's heart. He'd only ordered them to hold me down and make me kneel, never to hurt me. How dare they? Gabriel had no idea I'd been treated so brutally. His hands clenched into fists. For a moment, he wanted to kill someone. He roared, his voice dark. Bring those men to me, break their hands and feet, then throw them out. Yes. Gabriel. Even after the men lay half dead, Gabriel wasn't satisfied. He picked up a chair and smashed it over one of them. Watching the man bleed, he still felt no relief. He wanted them to die for me. The bodyguard screamed in pain. Confusion etched on his face. Gabriel grabbed his collar, seething. Who told you to hit her? Did I give that order? You dare overstep? The bodyguard shook his head, terrified. Gabriel, we were only following your wishes. We couldn't show mercy to Madam. Leila told us so herself. Gabriel froze, stunned. The secretary hesitantly handed over a document. Gabriel. The young lady's body was claimed. The hospital records have your signature on the paperwork. Gabriel knew nothing of this. He hadn't even known our daughter was dead. How could he have signed for her body? Something was terribly wrong. And possible. He snapped. I would never claim her body and do nothing. Then it hit him. Leila had been helping him with work lately, under the pretense of learning. He'd trusted her to review contracts, signing them without a second glance, certain she'd checked everything. Gabriel's fists tightened as the truth emerged. Investigate. I want to know everything she's hidden from me. Ariel's mother arrived upon hearing the news, delivering a crueler truth. It wasn't me who tried to send Leila away. She caught Leila slipping drugs into Gabriel's bed, plotting to get pregnant and take my place. I'd only followed orders. I'd known nothing else. Gabriel's vision blurred. He nearly fell. He couldn't believe the woman he'd cherished for years was so twisted. Soon, every terrible thing Leila had done was uncovered when Leila was brought before him again. His cold, unforgiving gaze made her tremble. Still, she put on a pitiful, innocent act. Brother Gabriel. What's wrong? Gabriel raised his hand and struck her hard across the face, sending her sprawling to the floor. Was it you who ordered the bodyguards to hurt Helena? Was it you who used my signature to take Sophia's body? You knew what happened to her all along, but acted like you didn't. You also bribed the reservoir manager to hide the second valve from me. And that the shut-off valve was already broken beforehand. Hatred surged in Gabriel's chest as he spoke, his eyes a terrifying red. Leila dropped to her knees, crying and begging for mercy. Brother Gabriel, I just loved you too much. I didn't want any other woman around you. And I couldn't bear to leave you. I didn't know Sophia would die. It was an accident. She was fine when she was taken to the hospital. I only wanted to scare Elena. I'm sorry, Brother Gabriel. I know I was wrong. Please forgive me, won't you? Gabriel kicked her hard. Then strode over, grabbed her by the collar, his eyes blazing with fury. Leila, having fulfilled my obsession. Do you really think I believe you now, my wife, my daughter, and that unborn son? You killed them all. He tossed 10 abortion reports onto the floor, each bearing Leila's signature. Is this what you call loving me? No wonder you wouldn't let me touch you that night. I was drunk. Your first time was long gone, wasn't it? You even bribed the doctors to cover it up. And you dared to lie to me, saying Sophia wasn't my daughter. Leila trembled uncontrollably, realizing Gabriel knew everything, and would never forgive her. Brother Gabriel, but they're already dead. Let me stay by your side to atone. Please. You like children, I can have them for you. As many as you want. Please don't cast me aside. Gabriel's eyes held no trace of pity. You think you're worthy? Leela, you killed my wife and children, you destroyed my family. I won't let you die. That would be too easy. I want you to live in endless suffering. I'll have you tied up and thrown into that reservoir pit. Not to drown you outright. And to make you relive the terror of drowning over and over. Leela froze. Then burst into a wild laugh. Gabriel, do you really think you're innocent? You had Sophia kidnapped. You threw her into that reservoir. Otherwise, how would I have gotten the chance to drown them? You're the one who made it all possible. You didn't believe Elena. You thought she was lying, that's why Sophia waited in vain for treatment. You were the one who killed them. Gabriel clamped a hand over her mouth. Refusing to hear another word, refusing to confront his own crimes, the truths he buried deep. Too painful to admit. Leela was taken to the reservoir. She drowned repeatedly in that pit, only to be revived each time. By the time she was taken to the hospital, her lungs were swollen and pale from the water. She wouldn't die, but she'd never truly live. Condemned to a life on a ventilator. The cost far beyond her reach. Gabriel stumbled through Sophia's funeral, driving away from the cemetery. He crashed his car. When he woke, parts of his memory were gone. He'd forgotten everything that had happened lately. Life seemed to return to normal, having to warsay. Until years later, at a banquet, someone asked after me. It's been 7 years since we saw Mrs. Gabriel. Is she well? Gabriel smiled and said, I was at home with our daughter. The words sent a chill through the room. Someone gently reminded him, Sophia had died long ago and had vanished without a trace. Gabriel froze. As if jolted back to reality, he raced to the cemetery, speeding through red lights. Only to be hit by a truck. As death closed in, he whispered my name, asking if I'd come to claim his life. But I was already dead. I couldn't answer yet. It was what he owed our daughter. A life for a life, fair repayment.